a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
Hey guys, this is Andrew Joseph. We're going to go ahead and join a friend of mine from Facebook and discuss his experience going down to Cuba, just his backstory. And I thought that would be an interesting subject for us to discuss today. So let's go ahead and jump on in.
That's just weird.
It is.
Welcome in, everybody.
Hey guys, what's up?
It's Monday. It's Monday. Enjoy your Monday. It was a Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't remember. This will be Monday. Enjoy every one of your week, and God bless all of you. Welcome to the Legacy News. I am the legacy of Jennifer Kaiser. That's Andrew Joseph, as he said. And welcome in to another special guest, this time on the Legacy News segment. Welcome, Rokas. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm doing all right.
On this glorious Sunday morning as we record.
I'm doing all right this fine Monday. I'm ready to answer, a few questions about my experience, I guess.
Yeah. So what got you interested in going down there? I mean, what kind of, I guess, flesh it out and let us know what happened.
Well, first off, Andrew, let's try to ease our way into that. Let's not go directly into it. People will be like, "Go where? What?"
Right.
Then they look at the title. People, what? But so I wanted to add Cuba into it.
All right, fair enough. Well, so in 2019, I think it recently reopened for like Americans, citizens to be able to get there. I think before, for a while, there was like loopholes where it's like you'd be able to fly to Canada and then get like a ticket from Canada to Cuba. But like we were able to actually just go straight from the States. So my buddy, who I went with, they were the one who suggested it because I went to Japan with them and they're like, okay, well, we can travel together. I guess I was chill enough to room with. So they invited me to go to Cuba with them because, you never know when it's going to close back up, especially given the political climate at the time, a lot of the tension. Like, I think that was still in Donald Trump's first term. So I mean, just not to comment on the political aspect of that, but just the political tension in the world in general. You don't know, when anything's gonna happen. So he's like, I want to go. I want to visit it before it closes up because kind of an interesting place. So we made plans and then we left after a couple of weeks. We did very little research before leaving, just part of potentially like the little adventure we had. And yeah, that's how we ended up in Cuba at the very least. This was back.
I like it. I like the fact that you guys decided to go blind. Probably should have done your research, but at the same time, where is the adventure in that, right? So
Yeah, well, part of it too was like we went to Japan. We know enough about Japan from like the media and stuff we watch. We were like, hey, we could swing by this. Like it can't be that bad, and it wasn't that bad.
Right.
So kind of applied the same mentality to Cuba. Which maybe not the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
probably
So
not.
was it
You know what?
like a direct flight or?
No, I think you could get direct flights. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. But for us, I mean, it's always cheaper to get layovers. So we did have like a day layover in Panama. Going there, I think we were supposed to have one going back as well. So we spent a day in Panama City, which was really nice. I actually did enjoy my time there.
So did you venture into Panama City then? Now I'm really intrigued. So, or was it just a day at the airport in Panama City?
Oh, well, so like, yeah, we had a long enough, I think it was like a 20-hour layover or something. So like we landed somewhat in the evening. So we did have a room, like it was an Airbnb that my friend booked for us. It was just in someone's house there, which is pretty cool. Like, I mean, they were really nice. They gave us like a little guest room. And in the day, our flight was in the afternoon. I think it was in like the late afternoon actually to fly out to Cuba from Panama. So we went and just walked around blind. We ended up going to and we went to Domino's in Panama City, which is kind of weird. You'd expect to go do something else. It's like, oh yeah, pizza sounds good right now.
Finding all the American in Panama.
Oh yeah,
that's really cool. So the experience in Panama was pretty much. It sounds like it was just really cool, just even for the short term that you were in there.
Yeah,
So,
I'd like to go back for sure. Experience more of it than just a little layover.
Yeah, we watched a YouTube channel called Nomad Capitalist, and we're always talking about eventually getting citizenship abroad. And it's always good to hear like the account of just different environments, what it's like compared to the United States. And you said you went to Japan, and I mean that's a relatively decent comparison. I'm sure that there is distinct differences in the culture and everything, but I mean,
you're talking about
was it?
citizenship abroad.
Yeah, but I'm just so like, was the water clean? I mean, what could you say was distinct?
In
In
Panama,
Panama or Cuba?
Yeah, well, either or, I suppose, but more in
Either.
Panama.
So I actually don't remember much about it in Panama because, like, I mean, we didn't really go and like buy food or anything like that. Like, well, like from a store or anything like that, or like eat at a nice like sit down restaurant. We just got like sodas at Domino's, so we didn't really like think about the water too much. In Cuba, it's definitely one of those like Mexico situations where you're advised not to like drink the water from the tap and stuff like that. If you're at a restaurant, opt for like the soda or like the whatever else, something that's been a little more processed. So we did not use the tap water for anything other than like washing dishes when we were in Cuba. So yeah, like it's just probably not the best thing to drink if you're not used to it, right? Because that's what it comes down to. If you're used to like whatever's in it, it won't get you sick.
I'm wondering if what more of that is just propaganda, because I mean obviously the locals are using the tap water, and maybe it's just because their body is used to it. I mean, but I wonder how much is it just the propaganda of the water situation. They may just want you to go buy. Well, they may just want you to go buy just the revenue stream of their economy.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely a possibility, especially when we were in Cuba. Like we also had an Airbnb there. We weren't at like a hotel or anything. So like there was like a fridge in the in the room, and it was full of like sodas and stuff, and there's just a little piece of paper like, oh, how much each thing costs, and they'll add the charge based on what's missing at the end to like, what you paid for it. So it could be. I could see them benefiting from that. That's very true. But I also didn't want to take a risk of just getting the mad shits in a foreign country.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure about how their hospital situation works.
Nobody wants to turn on the tap and get jaundice and ruin the trip just like that. Yeah. Andrew.
I mean, it's kind of interesting. They had Airbnbs in Cuba,
Yeah, but when you really think about it, like even though it was closed off to the U.S. a lot, other countries would still use it as a vacation hub. There was a lot of European influence, so like actually a lot of Russian stuff. We walked into a couple hotels just to, like, ask directions and stuff if we got lost, and there was a lot of the people even working there were speaking. They were like Russians. They weren't Cubans working like the front desk, for example. It was very interesting. It could be, I guess, Ukrainian and stuff because the language is very similar. I don't speak either of them. So, but there was a lot of European stuff. They use that as like their little tropical hub, I guess. A lot of people come visit.
That's what I've heard about. The Russians like to go to exotic places like that, and some of them even live. Like I think in, like, speaking of Russians and in other nations, I think there's like a little segment in India where it's just basically Russia. It's like little Russia. I
could see that. I could definitely see that.
Did you see any like diplomats or anything like from? I mean, obviously you're not going to see diplomats, but people from North Korea, maybe Koreans.
We might have, and just not really. We didn't really talk to anyone. For various reasons. So it's like if we did see someone, it's like, okay, hey, look, that guy's probably a foreigner. I don't know what they're here for. I could see it. Like some of the hotels that we saw, especially near like the ocean, were very upscale. So I'm sure there could have been actual diplomats staying there or whatever else, people with money and stuff.
The reason I ask is I remember seeing on YouTube about a North Korean diplomat that basically forced paperwork to just saying there's no future in North Korea, so that they were trying to escape North Korea through Cuba.
See that, everybody? If you ever wanted to go to Cuba, see how cheap that is. I hope you can see that.
It is a little blurry.
It looks pretty blurry, yeah, from my end too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see if
that's
I can
about the only. But
you in full. Try it again. I'm putting you in full screen real quick. Oh. Yeah.
It's gonna be blurry. It's coming off of a cell phone to another camera, but I mean, Airbnb is. I mean, I'm looking at like $14, $20, $28. I mean, that's pretty cheap. Also, kind of tells you a little bit about Cuba and its economy, and it's, what do they call theirs? They call theirs.
It's the Cuban peso, yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of get the realization of just how horribly devalued their currency is, and it's kind of cool that you could just go to Cuba, get an Airbnb, and be anywhere really, and get to experience.
Yeah, it's definitely accessible at the very least, and at least the room we had. So we stayed in Old Havana, like kind of bordering on where New Havana is, because there's like all the districts, if you want to give you at least an idea of what like general location within Havana we were at. And it was a relatively nice building. I mean, it's very historic in Old Havana, so it's like sometimes too historic. There were a few streets we went to where it's like you'll see just a multi-story building with 3 out of 4 walls still standing. There's just people. You could just see people on like the 3rd floor walking around, which, put a lot of things into perspective. But yeah, pretty nice Airbnb. We had 2 beds for each other. There was a TV. Everything worked. Working fridge and stuff like that for very cheap. We even had a balcony from what I remember. Yeah, like the value is definitely there. It's not, it's not going to be like the nicest, room ever, but it was nice enough for sure.
And you are pretty much in paradise, so That's so the difference of between old and new Havana, besides certain buildings are probably are crumbling because they don't. I mean, they just don't have the infrastructure to maintain it. But other than that, what's the complete difference between old and new?
Well, so we didn't go super, super deep into the New Havana, but I know that that's where a lot of the more touristy areas are, a lot of the nightclubs, you know, the resorts, some of the resorts at least. So it'll be very like a lot newer around there, as far as I'm aware. Than Old Havana is, you know, very historic, so it kind of gives you the perspective on like what kind of difference it might be. But yeah, that's kind of really it. Because there are touristy areas like everywhere, like kind of sparsely peppered in.
Yeah,
you're selling me on the old historic. Because I mean, I'm not a nightclub person, so like if I went to Cuba, I'd want to go to Old Havana and stay there and explore there, and maybe go venture into New Havana for a little bit, but just to check it out. But I mean, what more to do when you can go to a nightclub here in the States?
Yeah, that's
or I can go to, or I can go to Florida for a resort, or Little Havana.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not sure if New Havana would be any cleaner. It definitely was not the cleanest city I've been in, just as a general rule. I think things were probably, I don't know if they were as falling apart in New Havana or not, as far as we went. But yeah, some places in Old Havana definitely made you question if you were in Cuba or in Syria. Some of the streets you look down.
Is this Aleppo? Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I have like one picture I think I took there, just for my parents to show them, like, yeah, where do you think this was taken?
How did you end up in Gaza?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Andrew, stop being quiet.
So, what were you expecting when you went down there versus what actually, you know, you came away with?
Well, I mean, I was expecting nothing like super upscale clean. It's like, you know, I was kind of going in with reasonable expectations, like, hey, it's not going to be Tokyo by any means.
Yeah.
Just like kind of go and enjoy it. At least the weather's going to be nice for sure. Expecting maybe like that kind of, I don't know, like Bahamas kind of atmosphere, you know, maybe there would be like some nice beaches that we can hang out at, you know, whatever, lots of, you know, tropical bars, all that other cool stuff.
Yeah.
Versus what I walked away with, it's kind of the same thing. And even though we had kind of a scuffed experience, it was mostly due to just our own negligence, kind of being naive and stuff. It wasn't necessarily Cuba's fault. And my older brother, he's been to Cuba several times with his buddies, and they go, you know, more the, you know, get a nice hotel there, touristy areas, and they've had a completely different experience than me. So even though like originally when I came back, I'm like, holy shit, fuck Cuba. Like, you know, it felt like I was rescued, you know, out of like the fall of Saigon or something, you know, in one of those helicopters. Like,
Yeah.
but then, you know, when he told me, it's like, okay, maybe it actually wasn't that bad. Maybe part of it was just us being stupid. And if we, you know, kind of we're a little more careful, we would have had a little bit better takeaway from the trip. So I'm a little more open-minded about it, like looking back on it in retrospect.
Well, it sounds like you would probably go back and end up finding something else and having maybe implanting a different experience. So
I'd definitely consider it. For a few years afterwards, I would not have considered it in my life. But just given what happened to us. But
it takes time, obviously.
Yeah, you kind of think about it, you know, it's like, man, you know, we kind of dug our own hole a little bit. We went in blind. We expected, you know, kind of like to be as simple and easy as Tokyo was. Just because it's not Tokyo doesn't mean it's a bad place or anything like that.
No. So, tell us, you originally were going to be there for a couple weeks. You said earlier before we started recording, and
yeah. So the original plan was we were going to stay there for 10 days, We were probably going to spend half of it in Havana and then maybe take like a trip for the other half to somewhere else. Maybe like the south side of Cuba or something, just see a little bit more of the country. Maybe even try to go on like a hike somewhere, where it's more foresty, if that was a possibility. Again, we went in pretty blind, so we were expecting just to be able to figure all of that stuff out on site, on the ground. But we ended up staying for 4 days. Thursday through Monday is when we got out. And it was not from our original round trip ticket. So
So I guess you used cash while you were there?
So yes. And that's gonna go into exactly what happened to us. We both brought in like a decent amount of cash, and we knew that much going into it, that it's like, okay, bring cash. Especially because recently opened to like US travelers, like just expect to have bring your own cash just in case. So we kind of did do that. And the thing about Cuba is US dollars, you could use them anywhere. Like you could just you don't need to convert anything. You could just pay in US bucks, like dollars everywhere, and they'll take it. And yeah, people on the street will actually walk up to you if they see that you're a tourist. And this happened to us a lot. And they will offer to exchange money to Cuban pesos. And they'll offer a better exchange rate than you would get at an ATM, because the ATMs do tax you and stuff like that. So like that is worth it, provided you trust whoever the random person on the street is that walks up to you and goes, "Hey, I'll trade your money for you." This is a very interesting experience that I definitely didn't have in Tokyo. Was that happening? They very much wanted US dollars there.
Did you have internet access?
So that's also a thing. So the way I don't know if you could get private internet in Cuba, but the way it worked, at least in the neighborhood we were in Old Havana, this was the way our Airbnb owner described it to us as well, because they gave us little rundown and stuff when we first landed. They met us there, which was really nice to kind of talk to us about like what we wanted to do. So there's essentially one router for internet for like an entire, as far as I'm aware, it's like an entire block, an entire street.
Oh no.
And to use the internet, you need to go and get an internet card. So I believe it was $1 per hour, and you can buy like several hours of use. So you'd be like just a little code card, and we got it at like a corner store at a gas station that we went to. That's where they told us like, oh yeah, that's where you can get it if you need internet. And let me tell you, if you buy an hour of internet, you're going to spend 45 minutes of that loading the first page. And I don't know if that's, I don't know if maybe there's like peak hours, for traffic. Like, if you go at 2 a.m, you'll get reasonable speeds. If you're doing it in the middle of the day, everyone else is doing it, so it's going to be slower. That could be a knowledge gap issue. But when we were using it, it was brutal, to say the least. It was slow.
So it was effectively using like broadband when it first came out. Broadband internet.
It definitely felt like that. And it's Cuba internet, so there are certain filters which we found out, like certain stuff you can't go to, which came into play when we had our little financial issue. I try to be vague about it, like it's build up the tension.
Yeah, right.
So filter. You mean like you can't even get on like your bank account or anything, or explain the filters.
So yes, that's the stuff that we were looking at specifically. I don't know about the broadness of the internet like other sites, but when we the reason we needed the internet was we were trying to like access a bank account or like Western Union, and a lot of that stuff was not working. I want to say Facebook didn't work either, but I could be wrong on that and misremembering it.
That's probably a good thing.
I know for sure that we had issues getting into just like my, like I use Chase, so getting into that, it just wouldn't work. A lot of other like money transfer sites weren't working. I think we did end up somehow getting into like the Western Union website, but it was also, I think I remember having to jump through a loophole or something to make that work.
Yeah.
So
I get it
regarding that.
I gotta switch some to this wallet, but should have just brought this, man. Cake wallet.
They're going cash.
True. I don't know where I would
Actually,
yeah. I don't
actually,
think
Andrew, you want to ask about that?
Well,
they
I was
use
just gonna say,
crypto?
we'll go to that in just a minute. We'll get into that. I wanted to follow up. How much money do you think you should bring with if you was to go to Cuba again?
Well, it depends on your stay, like what you expect to do. Like if you're gonna go to the touristy parts, then nice place, you're gonna want to bring more than if you go to just an Airbnb and are okay with going to the more local places. You're not, upscale dining, like some of those like more shoddier looking local restaurants and stuff. If you're not afraid of that, then you're gonna need less. But I think we went in with like 300 to 400 in cash just in case each. I had around 300. And that was supposed to last us around 2 weeks. And we used those sums with the expectation that we wouldn't need to like get more money. So that was supposed to be our budget for the whole trip in 2019. I don't know how much that's changed. The conversion rates and all that have changed since then, because the world has changed a lot since then.
It has. You probably honestly need less now.
Yeah,
Because I would.
The way the inflation is.
Yeah, the way the inflation is, so it might be even worse. Their peso might be even worse now, but I could be wrong. I mean, the dollar's really not that strong either, so you may need 500 now, because they might have upped their prices, so to correlate, but who knows? So can you speaking of monetary aspect, did you see any places? I know you were mostly in Old Havana, and I wouldn't gander that places in Old Havana would probably be astute to crypto, although maybe they would be more so than New Havana. But did you see any places that might use crypto or like Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin or?
No, not even close. Yeah, it was the opposite, if anything. I mean, like I told you about the internet situation there. So
Yeah.
stuff is very slow. I'm not sure. Maybe some like just actually, like locals, like individually, maybe there was some sort of like crypto community going on, but no store or place, of business there gave me the impression that they'd even consider or sometimes even know what crypto was. But it was also 2019 again. This was like when stuff was first kind of popping off, like hitting the mainstream just then, for the most part.
Yeah.
So that's maybe that's changed as well in the 6 years or so since I've passed.
Only hope. I mean, go on, Andrew.
Do you know if they had cell phone service?
Yes, they do have cell phone service there. I was able to use I don't remember now. How did I contact my parents? I know they definitely do have like phone service as a general rule. I don't remember if like say you come, T-Mobile from the US, if we were able to connect or if we needed to do something special to make that work. But we were able to like use it. Like I definitely called my mom a couple times. I definitely spoke, and I just don't remember if it was through my phone or my friend's phone. So like maybe different providers, like had different luck with that. But we were able to like make it work. So or maybe we had a landline in the room. I don't remember, but I do know that they definitely had phones. I can tell you that for sure.
Now up on the streets, because I mean, I know a lot of times places like this there'll be a heavy police presence just because like totalitarianism. Did you see that feeling over there? Did you see quite a overpopulation of armed police officers or soldiers just wandering about, or was it just kind of pretty chill and somewhat normal on that parameter?
It was very normal. We did see like, some police cars just driving around, but it definitely did not seem over policed by any means. If anything, like it was I mean, I'm from being near Chicago. It might have even felt a little bit
Mhm.
less police than, like certain parts of the city there, like when I've been. Yeah, it was very chill. I did not see any soldiers like actively patrolling the
Mhm.
city itself. I think we did see some military vehicles and personnel when we were driving like to and from the airport, which is like
Mhm.
outside, like just outside of Havana. So we did see stuff there, but we didn't see anything crazy. And
Mhm.
as far as I was told by a local as well, they have like two different units of police. So they'll have the police who are responsible for the locals, and then they have the police that will deal with the foreigners, and that they would have, bit of different rules, different stuff like that, depending on who you are. And the impression I got from the person I talked to on that was that if you are a foreigner, like they'll be more lenient with you and stuff like that because they want you to return. They like your business.
Mhm.
I'm sure they do make a lot of their profits, especially the people operating, restaurants and stuff like that from tourism there.
Mhm. That's pretty interesting. Totally opposite of like say Mexico, whereas Mexico, you don't want to be a foreigner and deal with the police. I mean, I had a buddy that actually lived down there up on the border around Tijuana years ago. This was probably in the early 2000s when he lived down there, in the early 2010s when he was telling me the story. But you always want, when you were down there and you were a white boy, a gringo, as they say, you always wanted to make sure that you kept a wad of cash in your sock or somewhere around your ankle taped because you were probably gonna be harassed at some point by local police whom you would never have guessed that they were police because they don't dress like police. They don't dress in a uniform. They all have guns, like automatic weapons, like they're working for the cartel, pretty much, like they're paramilitary, but they're cops. And and when they stop you, you're gonna get frisked. You don't want to offer them money because that's bribery, but yet they're gonna take money after they find the cash. So when they find it, they let you go. So that sounds a little different from Mexico, where at least in Cuba, they kind of understand different cultures and that they have foreigners come in for tourism and vacationing, and so I do like that aspect of Cuba. At least they're acknowledging their people come from different areas of the world, so they're not used to it.
At the very least, it was like that in Havana. I mean, for all I know, it could be different, outside in like the smaller areas in the country
Hmm.
or whatever else. But it
Yeah.
is the capital. It is the largest city. As far as I'm aware, it's the largest city. It would make sense if it was.
Hmm.
So that could also play a factor in it. I'm not sure, but yeah, like we
Hmm.
definitely did not get harassed by any sort of police or anything like that while we were there.
Hmm.
This is
So,
gonna be a stupid. Sorry.
oh, go ahead, Andrew. No, go
This
ahead.
could be a stupid question, but given the history of Cuba before the revolution and everything, there was gambling and everything. Did they have gambling for people that were tourists, or was that off limits?
I
Do
am
you
not
think?
sure. It wasn't something that we looked out for, and maybe it's different in different districts. Um, like maybe New Havana, had gambling. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't actually notice anything like that when we were walking around because we weren't, really seeking it out. But we did see like relics of the past in a sense, because much like how, a lot of things I remember knowing about Cuba when I was younger was, oh, like because of the embargoes, they don't have new cars. They just had stuff from
Mhm.
like the 60s and they would keep them running. So very much like that, there are some buildings there where like you can tell this place was popping back, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Like it was like a,
Yeah.
nice. You'd see the staircase inside, like a grand like wooden staircase, and now it's just kind of in shambles. It looks all dusty and not as active. But, like, you could tell that at one point in time, like this was the place, probably one of the places to be. It was like a nice place to stay.
Fascinating. So, language-wise, was there much of a language barrier for you, or do you know enough Spanish, or how was communication with the locals when you would interact with them?
So I know very rudimentary Spanish. So like just a
So,
couple of words here and there. I'd have to like maybe just
mhm.
get by to find our way to a bathroom or whatever else, you know. But a lot of people we met did speak at least a little bit of English, at least a couple words. We went to sit down restaurant a couple times that became like our primary place to just like grab a meal each day, because you know the food was good, the prices were good, because again, like many other like foreign touristy areas that rely on that, you know, the touristy streets, right? They'll have one price for everything. You move 2 streets over where the locals are, suddenly everything is way cheaper because those are the real prices, you know, like everything's jacked up. So we found a restaurant like that, and we were able to get by. I mean, we could read the I remember if the menus were in English or if we like Google translated it somehow. Maybe it was in multiple languages. I remember we had no issues though. Like we found whatever we wanted. Like I'd have just like an egg sandwich every single time, and a can of soda, and it would be very like we would pay. It was probably like maybe like $1.30, $1.50 US for like, you know, a nice meal that would probably cost you, you know, what, $8 here, $10, you know, with a drink. Like it was, the prices were definitely good.
Does it have Coke and Pepsi, or is it just one or the other? Or
I'm sure it might depend on where you were. I actually don't remember what I would get, because I'm like a lemon lime soda guy, especially, you know, in a tropical place. Like it makes you feel like summer. So that's usually what I'd be reaching for. But actually, you know, I don't remember, because I was gonna say maybe they didn't have like name brands. Maybe they only had like local brand sodas that were like knockoffs of Coke and Pepsi. That might have
probably RC.
Yep, RC.
There's nothing wrong with Royal Crown.
It's not.
That's the Cubans.
Then I was right through that. There was a bit in Family Guy. I don't know if you've seen it, where they're in the desert and they see a vending machine. It's like, oh, we're saved. Oh no, it's RC, and they walk away.
Oh,
Shit.
greatest cutaway ever. It's just RC.
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting.
No,
just the food aspect, yeah. Getting by with language was pretty easy. And
so
continue.
Oh, not to cut you off on that, but to continue on that, and obviously you got by with the language barrier, but you could tell prices were a little different between local and tourist areas. So when you were in this restaurant, like when you first went in, obviously you got used to it, but when you first went in, did you have to haggle a little bit, or could you tell that maybe they were going to try to, seeing that you're a gringo, obviously, that they would try to one up you and rip you off? Or how did the first interaction inside the restaurant?
So we actually went on a small quest to find a restaurant in the first place when we were hungry. So we did look around actually through several places as we were just walking around sightseeing. And like there was places we'd go in and be like, okay, no, these are the American prices. Like we're not paying this much money. Like this is too expensive. We'd leave. Or you go into another place where we didn't like the atmosphere. It's like, man, this feels like a place we're gonna get food poisoning if we eat at. So like we would leave. So that was probably like the third or fourth place we walked into. So we kind of like, you know, based on like the previous expectations, we're like, hey, this place looks nice. It looks clean. It was like pretty close to the ocean, and it was like just outside of New Havana. So probably a little bit more tourism maybe spills into there. The atmosphere inside was nice, like the booths and stuff. Like it looked like it was a nice place like 20 years ago, you know, a lot more recently. And it was not that it was a bad place at all when we were there. Like if it was bad, we would not have eaten there like 3 or 4 times over our stay. And then, you know, we would look at the menus. We saw the prices. Like, hey, this looks nice. Looks like the reasonable prices. The menu looks good. So we took the gamble and we just decided to eat there. And it wasn't super far from our Airbnb because we were getting hungry and we were doing a lot of walking because, you know, we didn't have a car or anything like that. So yeah, we tried it and we liked it and it was good.
You're doing things that I would have done if I went down there and say explore and find something that's kind of local. Because honestly, in my opinion, the best places to go find something to eat, even if you're in America, is shitholes. Really.
I mean, I wouldn't even call it a shithole. Like, it was
Yeah.
genuinely a nice, comfy place. I would go back there if I went. I would hope they don't recognize my face, because due to the issue we ran into, the last meal we ate there before flying out, we just threw whatever leftover money we had in our pocket on the table and we booked it. We had to dash out of that restaurant. We felt so bad, but like we needed to eat, like,
Mm.
before flying out, and we ran out of money, essentially, is what happened.
Mm.
Due to what happened. So like we're just like, man, I feel so bad for these people. Like, but we need to eat, man. So we dined and dashed. I still feel bad about
Mm.
that, but we kind of
So, how hard do you think it is to escape from Cuba? Like, did it seem like it would be difficult, or
as a local, you're saying, to get out.
yeah.
Mm.
It depends. I mean, I know that the way a lot of them do it is they just take like a freaking rubber raft over to Florida,
Mm.
and the distance isn't that bad if you look at it on a map. So like, I don't even know how
Well,
that would work. Like, I've
the
always heard
distance
that
is
like
bad.
sometimes you can see like Cuba from like the Keys, the Florida Keys, on like a very clear,
That's,
nice day. You can like
Yeah.
barely see it. I mean, we were looking out on the ocean, and I definitely don't think I saw the Keys, but
Mhm.
like, so that's a distance. Like, that'd be a scary trip to make on a little rubber raft, or like a little inner tube.
Mhm.
Right.
Especially with the conflicts of the confluence of the Atlantic and the Caribbean. Like that's like the worst spot that you want to even
Yeah.
traverse. So
Yeah, one of the locals we talked to did say that like his brother, I mean, that's how his brother made it to Florida. Was they did just take a
nice.
raft with, I guess, a bunch of people, and
Do they
they made
have
it over.
blowback? Like, is there a consequence after they discovered they left?
I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that a lot of the people who are in Cuba, they want to leave. Like
Mm.
they're looking for better lives somewhere else. I think if they had
I'll
the
answer
opportunity
you.
to leave, I feel like a lot of them would just take it without even second guessing it, even if there was consequence.
I'll answer that question, Andrew. The
Okay.
blowback, the consequences of an escapee, if they're able to make it to Florida, because obviously if they hit American soil, they get automatic asylum. But if they're able to escape and successfully escape, um, the family back in Cuba, when they find out that this happened, typically gets some sort of sanction, if not prison. So it's just like North Korea. North
That's what I
Korea
kind of
is.
thought. I
Mhm.
figured I'd ask.
So it's not as worse as North Korea. I think the difference between like Cuba and North Korea's prisons is Cuba's prison is just like a dinky old prison. I mean, survival of the fittest, and it's not going to be great. You don't want to be incarcerated, but it's not like a work labor camp where you're starved to death. You're going to get some food. It's going to be nasty, but you'll get some food. North Korea, you probably won't eat unless you just eat bugs.
Yeah.
So, but that's usually what happens in a lot of these countries. And of
So, well,
course, if the United States catches you, if the Coast Guard catches you on the ocean, they send you back to Cuba. So, yeah. So
what kind of rules or guidelines did the person that gave you the Airbnb kind of give you about running around town and what you could and couldn't do?
So one of the things day one, like, there's just it surprised me, my buddy, a lot. It was just came out so out of left field, but at the same time, I could definitely understand it. Was so it was a lady and her husband. They were like, up middle aged, maybe older than middle aged, like 50s, whatever. They were very nice, but she's like, please, 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 if you bring a girl back here, just make sure she's older. She's not like 14 or whatever. Make sure she's an adult. And I'm like, oh, like, what kind of
Yeah.
place is this, man? Like, that it's common enough that someone gave me a disclaimer like that. It's like,
Yeah. Well, I mean that happens a lot in Mexico and South America, from what I
Yeah,
understand. So that's not surprising.
yeah, and we're sure to like, oh man, we had no
Yeah.
plans of that.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh.
So they were giving you permission to bring them.
No. She was saying, well, I don't think she cared if we brought in an adult.
Yeah,
She's like, whatever. She's just
just
like,
not a
please,
child.
please make sure she's not a child. You know,
Hmm.
it's wow.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me that pedophiles would go to foreign nations to prey on children, but
I
I do
mean,
like the fact that she
given
was giving you permission for the consensual adult encounter.
well, it's
Yeah,
not like she's gonna come in
encounters.
and stop it. You know, if it happens, I'm sure she kind of just
Yeah.
understands. Like, if it happens, it's gonna
Hmm.
happen. Just I don't want
Hmm.
but at the same time, I think partially it might not even just be like, oh, the global pedophile thing. I might, it could just be people doing what they need to survive to earn that extra money.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure like we were still not in the worst areas. We were near the shore and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like, I imagine if you're in one of the super bad places, like you'd resort to some stuff to make that extra money,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's partially how we ended up like I ended up losing a lot of mine, most of mine, because I mean, do you want to just you think it's been long enough? Have we let the tension build enough?
I think we
Sure.
left the tension. Let's you go
So
ahead. You
so of
go ahead.
course
Let's
I'm
see
going.
that.
Yeah, so of course it's like I'm going to Cuba. Well, what is a big thing about Cuba? Cuban cigars. I'm like, man, I kind of want to get
Mm.
some Cuban cigars to bring home. Seems like it would be pretty cool. So we are kind of looking around, and it was the second day after we landed. We were just walking around like it was like a street over from our Airbnb. We were walking past like a little like janky bar, and the dude comes out. He starts speaking a little bit of English to us. He sees that we're tourists. He's like, hey, it's like, you want a drink? And I'm like, well, shit, he seems nice. This is, we were still in the illusion of, it's like, if it was, if we were in Tokyo, someone offered me a drink, I would trust them with my life. Like, it was
Mhm.
just one of those places there, everybody was so helpful and it seemed so legitimate, like I would never feel it like risky. So of course I trusted this random guy. Interestingly enough, he was a dark skinned guy. I don't know if he was mixed, but he was definitely looked black. So I don't know if
Mhm.
he was. I'm not sure if he was born there as well, because I'm sure they have a population as well. It was just he did not look like you'd expect the typical Cuban to look.
All that.
Yeah.
But he
Big
was
slim.
wearing pretty nice clothes. Like he was wearing like a lot of other people there. They were wearing like much cheaper clothes, stuff like that. They kind of fit the area. He looked like he was dressed much nicer, very clean, like a polo and stuff like that. He was like, hey, you want a beer? I mean, it was a very simple bar. Like it was like a plastic cup kind of bar. They wouldn't give you like a nice mug or
Mhm.
anything like that. But I'm like, shit, like I'm an idiot. I'm like, sure, I'll have a beer. It's my first day. We're basically paradise. The weather's beautiful. Sun is out. Yeah, I'll have a beer. My friend, thankfully, my friend was with me. Far smarter person than I am. They did not take any of it. So I had a
Yeah.
beer, and we started talking to the guy. He's like, oh, it's like, what are we here for? All that. And I'm like, well, I'd like to get some cigars, as a tourist. He's like, oh, he started telling us about how there's the cigar house, like the restaurant, told us where it is and stuff. But he's like, there, it's gonna be very expensive. Those are the official cigars, like all the other stuff. It's a proper shop for tourists. It's gonna be very expensive. But I can hook you up with, far cheaper cigars if you come
Mhm.
with us. And they have like, they'll do a sale every month and whatever. He's like, and today happens to be the day of the sale. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I didn't think of it at all then. But I think I might have had a second beer after he offered it as well. My friend was still thankfully sober. And I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if I got drugged or not. But I have never had two beers, and it wasn't big cups, hit me nearly as hard as I was hit. I was within like 30 minutes, I was very lightheaded and not
Mhm.
thinking. And if my friend wasn't there, like holy shit, like they would have taken me for a ride. More. I mean, I don't know how much more you could take me for a ride than they took me for.
Mhm.
But so we
Yeah.
left with this guy. He walked around. He showed us like a thrift shop that was on the same block. As part of the conversation. He's like, oh, like here's like a local shop. He showed us some random janky ass thrift store. I feel like half the shit he was telling us he was completely making up. There was some portrait of like a guy, like a picture on one of the shelves. Like, this is the owner's son, and he passed away, and the owner really misses him. Like, dude, that could have been the most random person ever, and like he could have just completely been pulling this shit out of his ass. When I think about it in retrospect, or whatever, he was talking to us like he knew the place, whatever. He's like, so, we can go to the cigar place. So I think we walked over to the cigar place, which wasn't. It was like maybe a street and a half over. And it was just a residential place. Like, we just went into essentially someone's home. Someone greeted us, and we go in, and suddenly there's a lot more people in there. There was, like, we saw a couple kids. Like, it was clearly like a family house, but there was, a lot of other adults there too. And I don't know if they live there or what. If that was just, their thing was selling these cigars. And it took us into a room, sat us down. They did a whole presentation thing, like, yeah, we were gonna buy some cigars. So they walked out like different sized boxes of cigars. Like, the ladies would like pull it out, like show it, like let us smell them and stuff. It's like, wow, like this seems almost legit, but I'm also absolutely out of it. And so like I'm like, okay, like I'd probably like a less cigar. Like, the first box they bring out was like some huge, like there was probably like 100 cigars in there. It's like, I don't need 100 cigars. I've never smoked a cigar in my life. Maybe I wouldn't like one, I just want it for the experience. So it's like, okay, they brought it down. And eventually I started thinking like, fuck, like what did I get myself into? Like, those moments of clarity. It's like, dude, there's people surrounding us here. I can't just get out without buying anything at this point. Like, it's going to be so weird. Like, fuck, like just me and my buddy, I'm out of it in a foreign country. Like, people might get, this is a situation I feel like I might get shot at if I say the wrong thing at this point. Maybe that was like the super like other side of the pendulum, where I was like overcorrecting my mentality because I like my guard down so long. But I'm like, shit, I need to just go along with this, get the fuck out, and then never think about it again. So I'm like, okay, the cheapest cigars, whatever. Like, okay, well, it's still gonna be, like $200 or something. I think they just wanted $300 at first, which is basically all I had. And I'm like, oh well, I only have 200. And they brought it down just without any question. Like, okay, for you, we'll bring it down. So it's like, you just know it's sketch. Those cigars are probably made out of like the tobacco shavings they found on the floor at the wherever they make the tobacco, whatever. Like, yeah, like this is all bullshit. I just want to get out, go back to my Airbnb. Like, fuck. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I lost like 90% of my money, and whatever, they offered to do more like currency conversion as well for us. They're like, oh, if you want, we'll also swap the currency for you for less than the exchanges. We got some shitty box of cigars. It looked very legitimate though. It was like a wood. I probably still have it in the basement. I don't want to like run and get it because if I don't find it, it's gonna be a waste of time. But like, I mean, it was a wooden box. It had these labels on it. Like, this label here means it'll go through customs. It's okay. Like, they give us like they've been doing this for years. Plenty of people have probably been scammed this way, Like, some things tipped me off. Like, some of the hinges on the box were a little off. Like, you could tell like the quality control was a little bit like would a $400 box of cigars really have like a shitty hinge? Like, I don't know, but
No.
yeah, exactly. And then
No.
the other
I'm a connoisseur, so no.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I knew these were fake, and I just wanted to get out. So I ended up
Also,
paying.
to add something on that though, what's interesting about the Cuban cigars, many of the Cuban cigar manufacturer entrepreneurs, after Castro took over, many of them were exiled and they left. So actually, if you get cigar brands that are Nicaraguan or Honduran, even some Mexican, but mostly Honduran, Costa Rican, and Nicaraguan, that's most likely what a Cuban cigar tastes like.
Really? So I
Yes,
didn't know that.
many of those makers fled to those areas, and after the Castro took over, and the embargo took place, and started manufacturing their cigars there. So I know people want a real Cuban cigar, but if you're actually a connoisseur, you're probably already smoking somewhat of a Cuban cigar. It may not be necessarily Cuban, but it is Cuba. It is from a Cuban, originally a Cuban manufacturer.
Yeah, like the style of how it was produced and
Mhm.
stuff. I get that.
Yep.
So yeah, like, and I think beforehand, I guess, and I'm jumping around the story because again, I was potentially drugged, but the guy we were talking to, like, he told us he worked for a hotel and it was like his off day. He had like a whole spiel about,
Mhm.
like, he earned our trust essentially that way. He's like, oh, like, I'm dressed, real nice. He pointed to some logo on his shirt. I didn't even look at the logo. It could have just been a random freaking polo logo. I don't, he's like, yeah, like, of course, I work at this and this hotel. He told us like, oh, if we come by at this and this hour, they do like a happy hour, like on the rooftop bar and stuff. He's like, you can come down. It's like, damn, like that sounds legit. Like shit, like
Yeah.
he's inviting us to a place. Like surely someone won't lie about that. Maybe he did work there. Like I don't even know. Like he could have, that could have been a side scam he was doing. Yeah, ProfScamUNITE got scammed. There's some irony in that, but and I think
You must have watched Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Oh, absolutely, my favorite show. But I think at one point during all of this, we ended up telling him around like where our Airbnb was. So he essentially knew where we were staying. So that was also part of my concern was like, I can't just dip out, like we can't just dip out of here because they kind of knew
Yeah.
where we were. Like if they come, like I don't want someone to knock on our door or whatever else. It's like, I just do what they say, just get the cigars, whatever. We leave on a good note. They have no reason to harass us.
Yeah.
So like we ended up taking a taxi back to our Airbnb afterwards with him. But like I already knew where we lived, so it's like I wasn't super concerned about that. They dropped us off and whatever else. But like as soon as I got in the room, like I was feeling a little more clear-headed. Like I got it, and I'm just turned to my friend. I'm like, "Fuck, I'm so sorry. This was fucked. I was scared. I'm glad we got out. That's like
Right.
you knew where we lived because my friend was sober this whole time. Like he kept looking at me the whole time this was going on. Like man, like we are in some shit." But yeah, so we ended up losing our whole budget essentially for the week. My friend had some of his money, but that ended up being a lot of our food budget for the time, for the days we were there and shit. But so yeah, what ended up happening was we lost our money. We couldn't afford to stay the full stay. So I had to figure out how do we get back early. So because we couldn't get the first part of that adventure was we're like, okay, so I'm out of cash. Let's find some cash. Maybe we'll find, an ATM that works. No ATMs work. We went to like an actual Western Union location. We came back like, oh, I need to draw some money from my bank. Can I do that? Okay, well, sure. They were taking on all my information and stuff. Can I see your passport? Sure. I hand them my passport. They take one look, they hand it back. Sorry, I can't help you. So I was a U.S. passport. That's what makes me think if I did have dual citizenship with maybe they still would have been able to get it even if it was an American bank account. Maybe it was just, like I'm American. Sorry, I can't serve you. You're an American. So we went through like 3 different banks and locations to try to get currency, like international bank locations and stuff like that. I wasn't able to get any money. We spent like at least one whole day doing that before I'm like, okay, we can't get money. We have enough money for food at least for the next, couple days. I need to get in touch with my parents now and we can figure something out, like how to get us out of here, get us a ticket early because I wasn't able to do anything on the internet there. Like if it takes 40, like, you're buying internet for an hour, 45 minutes that is loading one page on Google. How are you going to get how many screens you have to go through to get a ticket for a flight, It's never going to happen. Like you have to buy like 5 hours of internet. So my parents were able to hook up a ticket for us from the States and essentially, saved us from, I don't even know. That's part of the reason we had to, dine and dash as well was it wasn't like us just being assholes. Like it was out of necessity at that point. It's like shit, like I feel bad, but if I don't eat, I'm gonna pass out.
Right.
Yeah. And they probably wouldn't remember you anyways.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I am from the States. That might have become an international scandal to some degree, but it just blew our mind. Like, you're able to come there from the U.S. Like it's not like we went through some loophole to get there from Canada. We were able to fly there straight from the U.S. but try to get money and you're screwed still. Just like it felt like it wasn't ready for U.S. tourism.
Well, the legal system is incestuous, so there's never going to be any straight answers or straight regulations that are going to work for every situation.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, it would make more sense if it's like, okay, well, there's not any U.S. banks or anything. It's like we went to a freaking Western Union, like physical location, and they're like, nope, we can't do it. It's like, wow. It kind of blew my mind.
Yeah,
So that was the bad part of my experience. It kind of soured my taste. It was like, shit. But in the end, it's like, think about it. Like I took beer from a random fucking guy in the street, right? I dug my own hole through complete. Like someone did that in Japan, you'd probably have a good day. It's probably just some guy being nice to you. Like you'd actually not have a problem. But yeah, Cuba was different. So just different places. You kind of have to treat them a little differently in that respect. But I can't say the rest of my experience was terrible. We did see some cool sights. There was actually have a map open because I was trying to see if I could find the exact street where I was at, just for people's reference if they wanted to see like, oh, this is where I was. But I did find, so there's a place on the shore called Castillo de los Tres Reyes del Moro, which is an old fort, like a historic old, I believe it's a Spanish fort that was there.
If you want to present it, I'll bring it up onto the screen, or Andrew can.
How would I do that?
You have.
It should be a little present or invite button.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Image share screen. Let's see if I can do that.
Probably share the tab.
Okay, let's see if this works. Havana share. All right. So I have it up. You could pull it up. Are people able to see it right now?
Just a second.
You have to add the video, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So here we are on Google Maps. So you can zoom out of Havana right here. So we were somewhere. This is like old Havana. This would be like around where New Havana is. So we were like right by the shore, somewhere around here, I believe, is where our Airbnb was. And then this is the fort. So we actually went and visited this place.
Oh,
that's how it looks from the ocean right here. If you open up the photos, and
even it's the lighthouse.
Yeah, and it's such a nice place. What blew my mind is this like a historic monument, and there's like all these cannons and stuff. But there were a lot of places where like you'd look down, like in places like this kind of, or like where it's fenced off. There'll be like these little like, I don't even know what they were for, but like indents or whatever in the ground. And it'd be full of garbage, just tons of trash everywhere, plastic bags, like people throwing cups down there. So that that kind of soured my my enjoyment.
It looks like they've cleaned up a little bit from that picture. So
it wasn't on like the actual monument though, so it's like it wasn't in places you'd openly see it, but it was like you'd walk around, like you'd look down at like some cannons and you would just see it like down, like just, and it could have been maybe it just blew in from the wind, like benefited the doubt. But yeah, it was like it was there was nice places. There's stuff to see for sure. There's historic little monuments and stuff like that.
Well, was there trash on the beaches?
So we didn't even see an actual beach. So this whole area here is right on the seashore. You can see there's literally a road here, and it's like rocks. It's like it kind of just falls down into a seawall, and then there's like those like big cement like stones all thrown around, like the wave breakers. So that was all here. We did not actually see. I think maybe down here there's beaches.
The beaches are probably.
This probably looks close to something like beach, but this is also like green, so it might have been more woody.
Yeah, so like China, they've got a real bad issue with just tons and tons of trash on their beaches and stuff like that. That's the reason why I was asking.
Yeah, but China sucks.
Yeah.
I was in Shanghai for my layover on Tokyo, and I was not a big fan. Like the city itself, I mean, there's a lot of colorful buildings, especially at night in certain places. So like there's stuff to do, but it wasn't as clean as I thought. The people weren't as friendly as they were when I was later when we flew into Japan, and the air quality you can feel. I felt the Shanghai air, and it did not feel good.
Yeah,
it was just like constant smog and stuff. It was very noticeable on that.
Now, the Castle of the Three Kings in Morro. I will recommend. You don't have to go to Cuba in order to get the Grand Cheer. I would expect you to want to go for the experience, but for how do you say it in Spanish? Castillo
It's
something.
Castillo de los Tres Reyes del Moro, according to
Okay.
Google right here. I'll zoom in on it.
Mhm. So if you go to this is old Spanish fort. So if you go to St. Augustine in Florida, there's the Castillo de San Marco, which is you can see the old Spanish architecture of the 17th century, 16th, 17th century. So you can kind of get the general idea of how these forts were and how large and just spectacular they are. So
If I remember correctly, there's a fort like this in Charleston, South Carolina as well. But I mean,
Very
I'd
possible.
have to go back and look.
And also, yeah, if you notice, there's also a Chinatown in Havana. And I think what I remember, they told me something funny about it when I was there. Even that local guy was like, it's called Chinatown. But I believe he told me that most of the restaurants that you go to there are like Italian.
so
It
they're
was,
Chinese
it was
Italians.
something so weird and bizarre about it. And I wish I could remember exactly what it was. But I remember it being something about the food. Like if you're going to look for Chinese food, you're not going to find it because it's something else. And he gave us like
Yeah.
a little blurb on like, it's not like maybe a reason why it's weird like that.
Mm.
But yeah, if you want
So
some
when you
Italian food in Havana, you might find it in Chinatown.
I kind of want to get a. I want to get a Cuban now just to go to Chinatown now.
All right.
Give me a pizza, mamma mia. Dude, and it's to an Asian looking guy.
Yeah, look, Casa Simon l'Italiano. See, maybe it's
Wow.
true.
Maybe at one point there was a large core group of Chinese Cubans, and then they all left, and the Italians came in and replaced them. I
Yeah,
don't know,
maybe.
or maybe at one, or actually maybe at one time because before the revolution, you did have a large Italian presence in Havana, so maybe they just still have the feel of the Italian and the American Italian uh, atmosphere. And then they have like a small little Chinese population that moved in. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. I guess completely like not relating to the current plot as well, but just kind of moving the discussion forward. I did because I know I mentioned the idea that a lot of people have about Cuba is those old cars.
Yeah.
It surprised me because when we went, we still saw some Ladas and stuff, some like old Russian shit boxes that were well maintained, of course. But there were a lot of newer cars.
Oh, I
Most of the
Really?
cars we saw were newer, which really, really surprised me because it wasn't the picture I expected, from like all I've heard about Cuba all my life. And I
Mhm.
don't know how recently that happened. If maybe Russia just, started exporting a lot of stuff to them recently. I think there might have been some other brands as well, like maybe Pugo
Mhm.
and stuff. But it definitely wasn't American brands. You were not going to see a Ford there. It was like European,
No.
yeah, like Opals, if you're ever Pugos, Ladas.
How about Tesla?
I definitely did not see a single Tesla there.
I
I'll tell
think
you
you
that
could
much.
get a Cybertruck in Cuba and just take over the whole place after a while.
Yeah, I don't think they
It's
have
like
the
a
infrastructure.
killdozer moment.
And
Yeah, I don't think they
a
have
lot
the
of taxis
infrastructure.
going around were nice though, like too. And what I heard was the taxi drivers in Cuba are paid like doctors. Like they make a lot of money compared to, I guess, the average Cuban. Like you want to be a
Mm.
That's
taxi
what I've
driver
heard.
if you're there, yeah.
That's what I've heard.
And like
Yeah,
I also,
'cause-
and to go with that too, they're the people you can trust. Like if you need help, like
Mhm.
a taxi driver has the most incentive to not fuck you over because they demand, like they're all around the tourists. Like that's gonna be a lot of their business
Mhm.
for transport, I'm assuming. So it's like,
Yeah,
they don't have to find. They already make a lot of money, so it's like you could trust the taxi drivers. It's
it's
interesting.
certainly different from if you go somewhere else around the world, like Morocco or Vietnam or whatnot, where you don't really want to trust those cabbies. I mean, they might take you somewhere that you don't want to be, or or when they do take you somewhere, then they're going to try to haggle you for more money, and then there's a chance that they end up just pulling a knife or a gun on you and robbing you. But it sounds like in Cuba, it's just business is so booming because of the tourism in the major areas that they don't need to scam you.
Yeah, maybe. It
Mm.
was very nice. The taxi drivers we had, and I think every single one that we ran into also spoke like fluent English, and we're just like talking to us, letting us know about the place, like as we were
Mm.
driving, especially when we first landed, because like he's like, oh, clearly he picked us up from the airport. Clearly he knows we just landed there, so he was like just giving us like a little bit of a rundown, like answering questions. Very, very, very cool people. So like that was really nice. I appreciated the cab
Very
drivers.
very different from America, actually. 'Cause if you go to like Atlanta or Chicago, like most of the cab drivers, they're gonna be they speak English, but it's kind of broken. They haven't really learned it. They're all foreigners, and then they're kind of all assholes.
I,
But
I,
I
I
think
was
that's also I think that's just American culture too.
I was gonna
So,
mention that when you mentioned the cabbies like potentially stabbing or taking away your word, and you were like, "Oh, Morocco or whatever." I'm like, "Shit, that I feel that sometimes here."
that's
Right.
probably That's most likely mainly here. So
Yeah.
I just mean like in Morocco, the bikes, the little tri bikes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
or in Vietnam. Yeah. Although half the time they're probably pretty decent. About the only thing they'll do is just like overcharge you.
Mhm. The cab fares definitely weren't like super cheap in comparison to a lot of the
Hmm.
other stuff. So I can see why they make a good amount of money if it's a lot of
Hmm.
tourists, especially if they pay in their local currency. Because I know the U.S. dollar is accepted everywhere. I'm actually not 100% sure, although I would assume so, that other maybe nations' currencies as well would be accepted
Hmm.
as tender, but I could be wrong on that one.
Hmm. So speaking of cabs, what do they have Uber or Lyft down there, or
As
did
far
you
as I'm
even check?
aware, they don't. I definitely didn't see any that I would
Hmm.
recognize as being an Uber, but we also didn't try just because, again, the cell phone service was a
Yeah.
little scuffed, and just
Hmm.
getting internet access to use a lot of that stuff was a bit of a struggle to say the least. So
Hmm.
yeah, it could have been a thing. It might be a thing now. I'm not entirely sure on that.
I know
But
where I work. I work at a casino myself, but I work overnight. During the day, they go out on the ocean and go out into international waters, and they have a hard time connecting just because. And I don't think it's just because they're in Cuba; it's just because it's international waters.
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
How would
Yeah,
the international waters in Cuba correlate with Cuba and cell service, Andrew?
Well, because I mean, if he's trying to connect to an American server, right?
Mm.
I'm sure that they've got a disconnection. The signal is weaker.
Well, they boost the signal if you pay extra for like international service.
Yeah.
Yeah,
another
which
thing I
is
guess is kind of ties into the whole internet thing as well that I haven't mentioned yet. Just the internet infrastructure beyond just like having one router for an entire street was
mm,
the power situation there. So it rained probably 3 out of the 4 nights we were there, and it
mhm,
might have just been this season. I'm not sure, but when it rained, it poured like it was pretty strong rains with like storms and stuff. And every time it rained, we would have power outages going on. Um,
mhm,
we had at least one night where we just didn't have power all night, and
mm,
it's fine. It's part of the adventure. Like we were very very chill with that. It
Yeah.
didn't scare us. Yeah, it was just like okay, whatever. Like I mean, we already walked around the town. We saw how it looked. We were not surprised at all that this is going on. But what that resulted in was like the days after that when we were walking around, we did go into like a supermarket. We might have gone into two supermarkets that we just like found because we wanted to see if maybe it was cheaper to buy like some cereal or something just to get us by because you buy a box of cereal that can last you a couple meals for a cheap
mhm,
price if you get it for cheap. But we were walking into a lot of these stores and it's like okay, we knew the power outages happened. We didn't even consider like a lot of their fridges were still down. So there was a lot of product probably just actively going bad. And I don't know how often that happens, or if they throw it away and maybe just or just keep it in there just for the next buyer. Oh, it's gonna come back, whatever.
Yeah.
And to go even further along with that too, like you go into a supermarket, they were pretty big stores, like comparable to maybe what you would expect for a supermarket in a city here, in terms of size. But the shelves were like half empty in a lot of places. Lots of empty fridges. And I don't know, maybe the fridges were evacuated because of there was no power. Maybe they had like ice boxes somewhere. That's also a possibility. But even the dry goods shelves, a lot of them were very empty and bare. And it's just not something I'm used to seeing, living here. There was definitely enough. Like, it's not like there was nothing to go, around at all. There was still food. It was just for such a a location of that size, you'd expect the shelves to be more full. And there were a lot of
Yeah.
empty spots all over the place.
That kind of teaches you a lesson right there to always maintain your own self-sustainability, because I mean, like a location like Cuba, for the people there, there's, I mean, food security is a luxury, it sounds like. And when you don't have food security, you got starvation. So
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
very,
let
or at
that
the
be a
very least,
lesson.
just people ration is just part and parcel of their daily life. Maybe they just, are smart about it. They plan ahead.
I'm quite sure the locals are very, very smart about it and ration. And then I'm sure that there's some that actually sustain for themselves. I mean, on a local, an even more individually localized level, so they don't have to depend on the supermarkets if the power is going down just for rain. So,
Oh yeah, that was something I was gonna mention too. They absolutely do, because when we were especially when we went to the fort here, we saw a lot of people fishing on the shores. There was, and every day we'd walk around like some of these areas. There were like places you can get towards the water. We definitely saw people fishing. So I'm sure that's I don't know, maybe they sell some of it too as well if they catch too much. Although it didn't look like anyone was catching anything super special. It was small fry. I mean, you're close to shore, so it kind of makes sense if you're not on a boat.
it does.
But yeah, people definitely did their part. Were doing their part. At least some people to get that food in any way they could. And like when it rained, we there was one point where it started like when we were just out on the towns, we had to run back like through this monsoon, and that was probably it was super fun. Like I enjoy the rain, so like just part of the adventure. Just like we're getting absolutely soaked, like it's monsooning like crazy. We're just trying to run back to our Airbnb. Like that's some adventure for me. But like we saw
That's
people
awesome.
just actually just out on the street, like essentially taking a bath, like showering. So I don't know, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if they were making the best of the situation, like just having fun, or if maybe that was just how they do. Hey, maybe they save on their water bill or something like that doing it. But people are out there, just in swim trunks without shirts, just like getting scrubbing each other down, like towels and stuff. It was just very interesting.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and at the
Why
very
not?
least, people are
Yeah.
having fun. Like even in a place like that, people are out there. People had smiles. People aren't all glum. It's pretty neat. And there were like social squares that we walked by. We saw like kids playing basketball or whatever. Maybe not basketball, but just sports in general. People are out there having lives. There was some interesting graffiti on certain places. We saw graffiti, a likeness of Fidel Castro on a wall at one point. It's pretty neat. So people live their lives. They're enjoying themselves. We were watching some Cuban TV when we were in the room. We actually saw a Batman animated movie entirely dubbed over in Spanish, which was interesting. But then we saw some local shows as well, like talking about like the local, like even I think there's something about a local cosplay community as well, which I found very surprising, very cool.
That is pretty cool.
I know
like,
that there's like a file storage. I've seen reports about to share files like anime and different TV shows and stuff like that locally, and it's not really connected to the internet, but I guess they have a way to get to it and then to share it around on their computers there. It's like like intranet.
I'm sure it could be something just on like USB sticks and stuff, and that's what I figured, because again, all the embargoes and stuff, they're probably not going to get that stuff naturally, and if the internet's shit, they're not just going to go on Crunchyroll. So it's kind of like what I imagined the anime community was even like in the States in like the 90s when not everything was getting like dubbed. Because I've heard it's like, oh, you'd have to get this and this on some VHS tape, from like a friend. People were passing around all these shows and you wanted to watch them. So like, that's super cool, That's definitely an experience for them. So yeah, I mean, people are definitely living lives. They're not letting their situation get the best of them.
So when you were in Airbnb, did like I've heard like in communist countries that they keep a picture of the whoever's in charge up on the like in the kitchen or in the dining room. Do they have anything like that there?
I don't think so. But the thing is, like, Castro had already stepped down by the time that we went there. So I think that they're in one of those places where it's like between being a democracy and some of like the waning stuff of like the previous way it was. So perhaps because they have like a president technically now, they're not doing that as much. I don't think I saw anything like that in the kitchen. It was a pretty small area, so I feel like if it was there, it'd be very noticeable.
Well, Castro passed away in 2014, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah.
He did step down. He stepped down before he passed away.
Oh, he did. Okay, so I was. Yeah, I wasn't wrong about that.
So but then he passed away. I think. Who is is Raul the president?
I could not tell you.
It's in that article that I had pulled up earlier.
Oh yeah,
Let me see if I can. Just a second.
I think he was technically elected though.
Yeah, hold on just a second.
So they do have elections. Yeah.
So I don't know if you can
we
read
did
that
see
or not,
like
but
government buildings and stuff when we were walking.
so
around.
like Fidel's grandson here, it says in the article, is an influencer, and like it just goes through and we'll put this in the comments because this is kind of a long article, but basically it's kind of like it's like in wrestling, right? It's kayfabe. They're kind of making references to like, aha, yeah, but at the same time they're trying to be cautious about it. But I think it says here in the article who the current president is.
It's
just okay. Like I said, we'll put it in there. Yeah.
Weird.
But it's just an interesting time, I'd imagine, to be a Cuban.
Yeah. The president of Cuba. Oh, no. Miguel Diaz-Canel is the president. Succeeded the brothers of Fidel and Raul, becoming Cuba's first non-Castro leader since 1958 and the first non-Castro head of state since 1976.
Wow.
So
that's wild.
So as far as I don't know what is so Raul is still alive. He's 94 years old. Can you believe that? So
I guess you win the revolution, you want to do a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. He was for you. So actually, first secretary of the Communist Party of Cuba. So actually, I think Fidel's been dead since 2011. Actually, because April 2011 to April 2021 was when Raul stepped down, and then he was the 16th president of the Council of State Ministers of Cuba, 2008 to 2018, and then he was acting between 2006 and 2008. So, evidently they were, so they've become democratic, I guess, more so.
Interesting.
Whatever that even means.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it could just be, a symbolic thing, cosmetic.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're a democracy, but not really,
I mean, you could say that about the United States too. I mean, what is democracy? What is republicanism? Is it all really transparent? Does your vote actually matter?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Another thing I just remembered as well, as part of the people in Cuba, you know, like they wanted, you know, a lot of them want to escape to Florida, right? You know, whatever else out of
Mhm.
there, to, you know, for a better life. It was interesting to me. There was actually a lot of people from Africa that we saw in Cuba that have come from Africa. So it's like little, like,
Mhm.
you know, like puddle skipping, you know, like playing leapfrog to try to, you know, go for a better life. It's like puts the
Mhm.
world into perspective. It's like if Cuba looked like that to us, you know, like coming from the States, and it's like, wow, this place isn't super great. The infrastructure isn't amazing. There's all these, you know, issues or power outages, and there's people coming from Africa looking for a better life there. And we encountered a kid like that. He was pretty young because it was when we went to the Western Union and try to get our money. We weren't able to. There was like a young African kid working there, and he was young. He looked like he was a teenager.
Mhm.
And like we talked to him a little bit as well later on, because the one of the guys from the bank was like, "Hey, take them to the international bank, like walk them over there." I think the expectation there was that if we made it to the bank, we're able to successfully get money, that we would also be able to give him a tip then, you know, for his trouble.
Yeah.
So like he walked, you know, whatever, like 2 miles with us, and we were just talking like, oh, you know, it's surprised, like he spoke English too pretty well. Like, you know,
Mhm.
also like you came here from Africa, and so like it was really interesting talking to this kid and just hearing his story about like how he came over. You know, he's probably away from most of like his family. He's just, you know, working,
Well, yeah.
probably sending money, I imagine, back home from
Oh, I'm
Cuba
sure.
on Cuban wage, sending money back. It's like,
Mhm.
wow, you know, it's like kind of
You'd be
makes you feel like you take a lot for granted when you live here in the States.
yeah. You'd be surprised how many of them Africans, especially West Africans, can speak very good English. Especially
Mhm.
since many of them, I know Senegal was French, but like many of them in like say Nigeria, they were British, a British colonial possession. So but you'd be surprised how many of them can speak almost perfect English, better than us Americans, honestly. It's like
Yeah,
my buddy from me and Andrew's buddy from Nigeria goes by the name Econ Bro. Not only is he just wicked intelligent, but he probably speaks better English than me. So, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, mm-mm. But
Yeah.
that is entirely fascinating that you have a. It doesn't make it makes kind of a little bit of sense considering Cuba did send back in the 60s and the 70s. They did send a lot of reinforcement to help train communist rebels in Africa, especially in like the Congo. So it
mhm.
doesn't surprise me that there's a large African community in Cuba.
Yeah, it's
Power
definitely
serves
interesting. Then
power.
it felt bad, you know,
Mhm.
and then it kind of like I didn't really realize it as well. Like again, when I was like while it was happening, it didn't dawn on me until afterwards. Like, oh, that's why
Mhm.
he sent him to follow us, is because he was kind of expecting the tip if we end up getting the money. We didn't get the money, so like he just kind of had to
Mhm.
walk back and stuff. It's like shit.
Yeah, but it's a shame. But I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's cool. It does sound like there's a lot of nice people. They expect something in return, but don't we all, right? So
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's
but
like you could
I
hardly
mean,
call that a scam at that point. Like we needed help, he was gonna help us out. And it's like what's throwing, you know,
yeah,
him a couple bucks if we get to where actually
mm,
get some money.
exactly, exactly. Well, Andrew, anything else? I'll
Well, I
actually
just
bring up that
sure.
map too while you and I just want to give people like the persona of what Havana like. I think it's cool how it's split between the harbor, actually. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
it's really, yeah,
the
it's
way it
pretty
wraps
cool.
around. So and
So we probably
and
didn't go much further than around here. Like this area is probably what we saw the most.
yeah, that's
So there's a
just
lot, you know, there's a
amazing.
whole lot that we didn't see too. It's a pretty big place
Mhm.
when you really
Yeah,
think about it.
that's what
So
it looks like. It's just huge. Go ahead, Andrew.
do you have any plans to go anywhere else like this? Like just to go and explore and maybe go on another adventure like this eventually?
I mean, I would definitely like to travel more around the world. Like I've always wanted to visit like Brazil and see the Amazon. So I know there's plenty of
Mhm.
places in Brazil that will probably mirror my experience in Cuba, at least the aesthetic and stuff. So I'm definitely
Mm.
open-minded. It's not like it's one of those like trips where it went wrong and just scared me. It's like I'm never gonna go to a place like that ever again. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
where else? Like, there's so many places in the world. I'd like to visit places in Africa too. I mean, I know there's
Oh
also
yeah.
that stigma for a lot of people. It's like, oh, that's not safe. But I have a buddy who he did. I guess it was like, what would you even call it? It was for college. It was like a not an internship, like an internship.
Like
He
a
basically did. He
exchange.
basically repaired medical like equipment in Africa. In
Oh, that's sick.
I want to say Rwanda. And it's like, I mean, hey, he was okay.
Mhm.
He made it through alive. He said it was a very interesting experience in life, to go there. So,
Yeah.
because like I'm a big nature guy. It's like, so I want to go and see stuff like that. That's my big
Same.
draw to go places like that outside of the big first world places like Australia or whatever. But that would be an adventure, but it wouldn't be the same as going some Thailand, Vietnam, even Rwanda, wherever, the Congo would be cool, places like that. So yeah, I'm definitely still down to explore.
Well, if
I
you
would
do,
love to do the same thing. Actually,
if
I mean,
if you do, will
being
you
a
come back
Catholic.
and let us know how you
Tell some
or
stories.
how your experience was?
If you do, get in contact with me. I'd like to go with you through the stories.
Well,
So,
we'll see. We'll see.
so as a Catholic though, I would actually love to do the exact same thing, but I would love to go visit my sister parishes um, of fellow Catholics because it's a lot different, and they also need a lot of help, especially in Central and South America. I wouldn't mind going to El Salvador, and now that it's a little bit safer, it's not that much safer, everybody. But I mean, it would be a little bit easier and not as sketchy as when you're going into San Salvador before you get out into the outskirts, where now you got to watch your back. And then you get to your village that you need to get to, and then it's safer.
Yeah, I'm a Catholic as well, actually. So we actually had a one of the priests we had previously. He unfortunately actually passed away a couple of years ago. Actually, it was last year. But he was a great guy. So he did do work because they travel around different parishes and
Mhm.
stuff and different churches. So he did spend a lot of time in South America. So
Mhm.
he'd always tell us stories and stuff. He had like little souvenirs. He's a really funny guy. Rest in peace. We were
Right,
close
yeah.
to him. So yeah, I definitely kind of get that vibe too.
You know, my dad in part of his parishes, he's been to El Salvador twice, and and then he went when I was a kid. He went to Guatemala
Okay.
for another mission. So I wish he would have actually taken me to Guatemala. I would love to go to Guatemala actually.
Yeah,
So
it'd be interesting. Yeah,
mhm.
definitely like to go back to Panama too to explore it a little
I
bit
would,
more than just scratching the very surface of Panama City. Like
mhm.
I don't think we even got to see the Panama Canal
Uh,
because it was quite a ways away. Like opposite end of the
mhm.
city, opposite shore, basically from where we were, and we only had so much time.
Mhm. Mhm. I'd like to get to Costa Rica actually, and then
Ooh,
possibly just live there because
that seems
it's
like a nice
cheaper.
place.
A lot of Americans actually move to Costa Rica actually,
I could see
from
it. I
what I
could see
hear.
it. Yeah.
Hmm. So, Andrew, and anything else for you? Where would you like to
No,
go?
that was
Non
well.
Japan.
Maybe go to Kuala Lumpur would be fun. Just experience that.
Hmm.
It just seems
Go to
interesting.
where?
To speak English, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Where's that at? Oh, Malaysia.
Yeah,
That would be interesting.
yeah.
Hmm. That would be interesting. So we are hitting. We've hit over a hour and a half. Should we continue?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I think I've told basically everything that I experienced in the
It's,
4 short days four very short, long feeling days that I was in Cuba.
mm. So, one final question though: how would you, yeah, if you had to give a star or a number, uh, to rate, rate out of 10, what would your experience be going to Cuba?
Out of 10, maybe like a 3. And a big part of that was just the stuff that the hole I dug myself
Yeah.
into through negligence. I think if I didn't do that and
Mm.
we got to spend the whole time, it'd it'd be a little bit higher. I don't think it would be a 10 because there's
Mhm.
work that needs to be done in the country, you know. But it's an experience I
Of
don't
course.
regret, and I'd probably consider going back and giving it another shot with the knowledge I have now.
And Andrew, on your experience today, how would you rate the stories?
Well, they're definitely top class. So thank you very much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man, no
Brother,
worries.
thank
I enjoyed being here. Thank you for having me.
So yes, thank you again. So as always, there's always a answer the door, Andrew.
What? Hello? Sir?
Yeah,
Are you ready to go for the
That-
party?
there's obviously an old man at the door, probably. Go answer the door.
Okay. Hello? Okay, I'll go for a party with you. I'll see you guys later, okay? Bye.
All right, take it easy.
Sounds good, Andrew. So have a good day, everybody, and thank you again, Rokas.
Yeah, man, take it easy. Best of luck.
Bitcoin, baby.
Hey, yeah, this is Bitcoin. I'm back. The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch. Flossing fast cars and rolling with my clique. The king of the rap shit, the real OG. Whack ass rappers got nothing on me. Bought another Lambo, 3 hoes inside it. 10 hoes in line, ready to ride it. It's Bitcoin, bitch. Keep the track bumping. Really on the plug. I got pies in the oven. 80 years old, and your baby mama fond of me. All she wanna do is smoke my broccoli. Private jets from Rome to Ibiza. Lisa, Jenny, Julie, and Maria. Every day I gotta give thanks. I got bitcoins in the bank. Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch.
Bitcoin, baby. Oh,
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Bitcoin, baby.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch. Axe your grandmother. Verse 2, coming with the gin and the juice. Call me a drag, spit flame in the boot. I'm hot, like a thermos full of coffee. So hot, can't get the hose off me. It's true, I got the weed card and shit. I'm smoking like a motherfucking chimney, kid. Bitches love me, my shit's never whack. Tell these motherfuckers, Bitcoin's back.
Bitcoin, baby.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Hot like hot coffee. Oh,
Axe your grandmother.
Surprise, motherfucker.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch.
Get your hands in the air. Put your hands on the car. Put your 2 hands on the road. Put your 2 hands on the road.
Bitcoin, baby.